All right. Okay, so part 2, I guess. So let's make it so that there's a, I don't know, like a paragraph tag here that says something like, I don't know. We use some string interpolation here. Right, so we'll say that. Let's see if this explodes. So now we've got a back button, a forward button. That's pretty nice. But I don't really want it to go past page 0. So like, I don't know that there's anywhere that has a negative page 11. So maybe we need to put some limits in here. Like we'll say minimum page. And we'll say our minimum page is 1. And maybe a maximum page. And heck, we'll use 42, why not? So what we can do is we can start to take a look at this logic in here, this 1, for example, and we can try to do a disabled. So disabled is kind of like a backwards logic thing, and I've fallen into this trap a few times. So let's see if I can get this working correctly. So what disabled needs to be is, if disabled is true, it's off. If it's false, then the button is able to be clicked. So what we're looking to do is to get a true value if page is equal to or less than min page. So what we're going to do is we're going to do page is less than or equal to min page. Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah. That's another one I shouldn't have. Give me 1 minute. Didn't like my my notation on that. So less than or equal to min page should return a true or a false, depending on what page I'm on. So if I save this and I refresh, the back button should be disabled. I can't click on it. If I go forward, the back button should be able to go back to page 1. So pretty simple. Now, if let's say that we have our forward button is going to be disabled. And this is only going to happen when the page is greater than the maximum page. Right. So now, yeah. Why did you not like that? Did I put that in? Yeah, I put that in the wrong spot. Oh. Typo. All right, so if I refresh this, I mean, you know, I can sit here and click 42 times if I want, but I'm a programmer, I'm lazy. I'm going to change my page to say 41, for example. So we'll save that. And we're on page 41 now, and I go to page 42, and I'm still able to go to 43. So my logic is a little flawed. I need to add that equal sign in there. So greater than or equal to max page. So let's refresh. So now if I go forward, we can only go to page 42, but I can still go back. So now we have sort of something that can be considered pagination or pagination or pagination. There's so many ways of pronouncing it. So we haven't even gotten into doing any type of Axios calls or anything cool. But we did learn how to do state management and useEffect to make a button go to a certain limit. Yeah, that's not particularly useful. And I'm just going to say set my max page to 1 right now. So both buttons are disabled because we don't have any information to show. It's not styled very well, but that's okay. I'm going to put these buttons inside of my main. And I'm going to change this to all right, so this rendered Brian and then redid Rick and Morty. So no longer just says Brian. Currently, there is no data coming back from Axios because, well, we're not doing anything with our Axios call. So let's get into some type of information. So let's make a new object or a new array of objects, and let's see if we can get this to display. So we're going to do something. Our initial list is equal to an array of objects. And we'll do, say, name. Species, human. Something like that. And I'm gonna pick on Val this time. And Val, you are a male.
Yes, sir.
You are a human.
As far as I know.
And are you dead or alive?
Still alive.
Excellent. So we'll do that. So we're going to now deal with mapping over information and displaying it. So all of our state currently is just living in app.js because that's where I want it to be. And we're going to call this so we've got a character list, set character list. We're going to use state. And we're going to pass in this object here, or this array called initial list, like that. So now we're going to get into some components. I'm not worried about any of this stuff here. So Kind of what I want is somewhere around right here, we're going to be putting in some sort of a component that's going to be displaying a lot of this stuff. So honestly, this stuff here needs to be moved up into the header. Probably a nav is fine. And we're going to get rid of all these A tags. Something like that. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a new folder in our source folder here. Components. If it's uppercase, lowercase, nobody cares. Don't change it after you've already named it something. Like don't go from uppercase to lowercase or lowercase to uppercase. Happens about every single build week and it messes a bunch of stuff up. And on this one, maybe we're going to call this I don't know, list.jsx, right? So what we might do is let's see, we're going to, we're just going to do const, call this list. So the first thing we need is a variable to hold our function, a function to hold our return. And we're just going to call this I don't know, maybe we shouldn't do it exactly like that. We're going to make this an article. We have an export because we still want to be able to see this from our app.js. And yeah, so let's kind of take a look at something. So I'm wanting to map over that array, which is called character list. And maybe this is actually better called something else. Let me rename this. Character, we're gonna rename this character. Okay, so this is just going to be an individual character. And we're going to be mapping over this to get us our list. So if I have a map, that's going to be a JavaScript expression. So we need to break out of JSX by using curly brackets. And we're going to do character list.map. So if you'll remember, a map basically just goes over an array and returns individual objects out of that array or individual elements out of that array. And this is going to take a callback and some sort of a name of a variable like person or something. I'm using person, not character, because that just starts getting really redundant. So if you'll notice, this is returning a JavaScript expression. So if I'm doing it this way, I have to do, return parentheses, which is the parentheses says that it's returning JSX, and then, go in here and, type in, character, blah, 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 right? The faster way of doing it is to use the default return on an arrow function by just having parentheses here instead of curly brackets. And it's already going to be returning JSX into that section. So we're going to do person and then index. So index starts at 0, goes to 1, etc. until it's done. maybe we'll put an ID in here while we're at it. So there we go. Oop, forgot a comma. Okay, so we have some insanely large number that's probably not going to be used anywhere else. Yeah, unexpected token. Yeah, I haven't finished writing this out. So what we want is a character. So this character is an element that is being returned here. So this is going to turn this character into an article that says hi there. And without using anything, we've got 2 hi there's because there's 2 things in our array. We haven't even passed any props or anything. So we have this person information here and we have this index. So what I can do is I can do something like a key. And if you'll notice, it says each child in the list should have a unique key property. Well, we're putting a key property in now. What we can do is we can actually go through and concatenate in a whole bunch of information like, $, person.id dash, dash index. And if you wanted to, you could even put in more information like something like that. So this key is supposed to be something relatively unique that's not going to be repeated anywhere else. So, you can put character component. Something like that. I mean, you could have it insanely long if you want. The biggest thing is it just needs to be unique, and it becomes more and more necessary with larger applications. Something like this, you could get away with just using index in here as your key, and it would work fine. So the other thing that you probably want is to pass in your person. So this is where we're getting into props. So this person over here inside of the curly brackets is referring to this variable here. So whatever is coming off of this map, where this person over here is a banana word. So you can call it anything you want. Pretty sure I spelled that correct. So you can have it supercalifragilisticexpialidocious equals person. So let's save this. And it hasn't crashed, so I haven't broken anything. If I refresh, it no longer has a problem with the key being not unique. So let's go back over and look at our character. So first thing, we're passing in information, and traditionally we call this props, but you could literally call this Barbie girl if you want. Awesome song. And now if I console log Barbie girl, notice props. If you notice, we have supercalifragilisticexpialidocious twice, right? So 2 objects with supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. The first one is Brian. The second one is Val. So it's mapped over and passed that information where we can console log it into here. So what you can do is instead of doing, like, console log barbie-girl.supercalifragilistic supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.name. Refresh. All right. So notice it's giving us barbie-girl.supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.name twice. That's fine. But instead of having to type out this whole huge crazy thing, what you can do is you can destructure these, similar to how we did that in the use state. What we can do is we can make a new variable for each one of these, which is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious is equal to Barbie girl. So what this is going to do is this is going to look into Barbie girl and see if there is a supercalifragilisticexpialidocious available inside of Barbie girl. And then I can just console log supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and you'll see that this is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious being console logged. And we could even break these out even further by destructuring these. Say name, gender, and we'll do image just to show. So so any object, you can take anything from that object, even things that don't exist, like image, right? And we can now console log those. An image should just say undefined. Yeah, so val, male, human, alive, undefined. Have I lost everybody with destructuring?
Nope. Still here.
Excellent. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So now let's start making something inside of this article. So I'll probably want like a H2. We're going to want to put the name inside of that. Let's say that we had an image tag at some point. And so the source would be, whatever came back from image, and the alt tag probably might be a good idea to put the name inside of there. Right. So we don't have any images yet, but in the future, probably, considering that I've done this a few dozen times, I'm going to say there's likely an image. Yeah, a p tag. So inside of the p tag, let's string concatenate something like name is a gender species who is status, something like that. So if I save this, we're going to notice that this is going to be rendering something different than hi there. So now we have Brian. We have an image of Brian, which isn't in there. Brian is a male human who is alive. Val is a male human who is alive. So now we have a way of outputting data really smoothly without anything. We haven't even done an Axios request yet. I mean, we're already outputting more than one item. So we're just looking at the information and the shape of the data that's coming back from the Rick and Morty API. So if I go to the rickandmortyapi.com, so rickandmortyapi.com, I click on docs and I look at this character schema. So if you'll notice, we have this ID, name, status, species, gender, image, and status, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that we covered all of it. All of this stuff is in this. So this is the shape of the data. So if I get a single character and I try to take a look at this. So I have this plugin called JSON View that allows me to view this without looking at a wall of text. So in this specific case, we're looking at character 2. Let's see if we're on character 1, for example. So we've got character 1 is Rick Sanchez. So that's their name. Rick Sanchez is a male human who is alive. And it also has an image, so I can click on that and see the image. But it's not a list, it's just one guy. So what we're more interested in is getting all characters. So we're gonna kind of take a peek at this right quick. So if I go to this is giving me a little bit more information. So we know that what's coming back from here is an object because we have curly brackets, and it has 2 keys inside of here, info and results. So info is an object and results is an array. So usually whenever you see an array, that usually means that the information inside of it should be identical. So if we look here, all of these are objects. Right? So all of these should have that same character shape. So, you know, name, status, species, gender, image, the works, right? So this is the same shape of data that we put into our app up here in our initial list. So I'm going to selfishly copy this, and I'm going to be Rick Sanchez. So using the wrong key again. And then Val, you want to be Morty?
Sure.
Okay. So we'll copy this. And we'll do image. And again. All right, so let's kind of take a look and refresh here. So now refresh the page. And now we have Brian and Val. I'm Rick and he is Morty. Maybe that's the other way around. Not entirely sure. But yeah, so we're able to use the same shape of data that's coming from this documentation, the character schema documentation, and make something that gives us information that's coming back from the Rick and Morty API, the same shape of data, but we're using different stuff. So, you know, Brian and Val. Different IDs, everything else. It looks like we got a 10-minute warning, but I think that we can do the Axios right quick. So what we're going to do is stop the server. I hit Control-C, it works on a Mac the same way. And if I look at our package.json, you'll notice that we have these dependencies here. And I'm missing Axios. So what I can do is I can do npm install Axios. You'll notice it should show up right here above React. This is not my fastest computer. And now that that's in there, I can just do npm, oops, in the terminal. We're going to refresh this. Now I'm going to try not to speed run this. But let's say that I wanted to do a GET request from Axios. So we just did an Axios GET request right here, effectively, is when we typed this in here and hit enter, that was the effectively we did a GET request. Axios is just a tool to allow us to get information from somewhere or post information or delete information or whatnot. So we have this Rick and Morty API character, and I personally teach it with then. So a then statement is going to take a callback, and then anything that happens inside of here happens when the Rick and Morty API character returns something that's happy, so a 200 path. So if iconsole log res and we go back over here, you can see that this is getting data here. So we've got a config, we've got headers, we've got request. So this is all the object that's coming back. So 99 to 100% of the time, it's always res.data. So if I console log res.data, we're going to get the same information as this page here. We got info and results. Info and results. Info is an object, results is an array. So if we've got res.data.results is an array, we can set this to character list. I can save that or hit the right key and save it. You'll notice that when I refresh this, just for a second, you can kind of see this at Brian and Val here. But now we're actually getting data back. And all we've done is overwrite the data, the initial data, with res.data results. So
why results? Why dot result?
because inside of the res.data isn't an array or an object, or it's an object here, but it has stuff underneath it that's required for you to get, say, like a list going. So res.data is what we're seeing here. And results is where all that information lies. So you've got to actually console
That can be
log.
called
And see,
anything depending on the API, right?
yeah, the API is whatever the API is. It's the Wild West. They could call it Barbie Girl as far as we know. Or banana. So there's another interesting thing in here. If you notice this info, so res.data.info has some pretty interesting things like the number of pages, and check this out. So this has the exact same website that we were going to, but it's got a question mark page equals 2 on it. So that shows us a little clue that we can put a page number inside of here. So I could do question mark page equals 2 right there. And if I save this, you'll notice we have a different page in here. Or if I go to page 42. that's just being slow. Let me refresh. Yeah, see, well, we've got there we go. Now it's working. So we got Gotron, Butter Robot's one of my favorites. All right, so we can put any number that we want inside of here. So what if we were to change this from a double quote string to, say, a backtick string, and put our page in here? This should go back to page 1. What if I change my page up here to page 2? Oh, there's page 2. So now the back button probably will work. There's page 1. Oh, well, the back and forward buttons work, but we just need to set that max page. So we had set max page to res.data.info. Let's go back over here. This is pages, and it's 42, which is our max page. So now we should be able to go forward to page 2, page 3, page 4, and go back and forth all we want. That's pretty much it. Any questions? We got 2 minutes before the thing ends, and then I'll drop another link and we'll style this thing. No questions?
I'm good.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing and end, and then I guess it's just gonna be the same link. So just click on the same link and I'll see you guys here in a few minutes.
Sweet.
All right.